Hello friends and welcome to week number 7 of the NUEL Blood Bowl League playoffs. My name is Canifit, joined by Kirby again. And Kirby, what a night it is as we look back over the final week of league play.
It absolutely is. We've had our 6 prior weeks of playoffs, now coming to the 7th. 12 teams can still technically make playoffs at this point. It occurs to me actually it's 11 because one of them hasn't been able to play this week. But still, 11 teams playing for 8 slots. It's all going to come down to these final 3 games tonight that we're going to bring you.
So let's take a little look at the standings at the beginning of week 7. So we've got a lot to get through here in terms of playoff bits and pieces. So we've got 4 teams we know are going through to the playoffs no matter what happens this evening. Who are they?
They would be OYBBL represent, obviously, the guaranteed number 1 position at 5 wins, 1 draw. Behind them, Dead Ends, the last minute team name at 3 wins, 3 draws. They are both safe in that top 8 position. Further down the table, we find the Jorvik Jets, who, thanks to a concession victory, are also guaranteed top 8 from there.
Okay, so with those 4 aside, so we can sweep them aside as being less concerning. We have got some other teams in the top 8 who are relatively secure, but not anywhere near as secure as that top 4.
Absolutely. We find Java Programming, Mystery Inc., and the West Street War. All of them will basically guarantee themselves top 8 on a draw. If one of them lose their game, then they are still in top 8, but there's a chance they get locked out on a tiebreaker. Important thing to note as well is it later on in our second game of the evening, it will be Java Programming versus West Street War to find out who holds on to their playoff position.
Okay, and the last team who currently are in the top 8, but are definitely looking the shakiest, the Fortnights. They've got a lot to worry about in week number 7.
Yes, being an extra loss behind those 3 teams, meaning their position is slightly less secure. They play the Cheez-Its as our main event of the evening. Whichever team wins that game basically guarantees themselves a playoff position. If the Fortnights manage to stall out to a draw, they're in top 8, but they're not guaranteed in, as teams can break through and get clinching it on tiebreakers. Cheez-Its, however, needs to win that game.
Okay, and we've got a couple of other teams worth considering outside of the top 8. The Renaissance Painters and the Chosen of Blood.
Yes, unfortunately, due to the pairings for this week, they are playing teams lower down the table, so it's a little hard for them to sort of win and in themselves, as it were. They can still make the top 8, however. If they win their game and one of those 4 teams we talk about lose, then they can still make it in on tiebreakers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm particularly excited, as you said, for the Fortnights versus Cheez-It, which will be our headliner match this evening. But to start things off, we will be going for the Steve-O Rangers versus the Renaissance Painters as our opening match. Should be pretty fun. These guys, they've been around the block a fair amount. Butterfly Man hosting the Orcs from the University of Durham, a PPE, a Philosophy, Politics and Economics student. JSPS Monkey, Lizardman coach from Brunel University, studying games design.
Yes. This is going to be Orcs versus Lizardman, as you mentioned. Orcs, very known for being extremely punchy. They want to get in your face. They want to sort of take these brawly engagements, have them as long as possible. The Lizardmen have the Sauruses. They can do that to an extent, but what they really want to do is get the ball onto the Skinks and go around, outmaneuver with that MA8, with that dodge, with that stunty. The problem is, there are 2 blitzers on the side of the Steve-O Rangers that have learned Mighty Blow, and the Skinks only have armor 7. If they get punched, they will get stunned, they will get knocked out, they could potentially be injured or worse, and especially this late in the tournament, that could be devastating, because even if you make playoffs, you might just fall out.
Yes, I mean, that's the whole thing. These teams they've been developing all the way through this season. I mean, this is the most heartbreaking of times that you could potentially lose out your team, to have all that work not quite thrown away, but at least made extremely difficult to cash in on once you do hit the playoffs. We are, of course, as noted at the top of your screen, seeing a little bit of a team value disparity between the 2 squads as well.
Yeah, it follows. The Steve-O Rangers haven't had the greatest seasons. They are technically eliminated at this point, but they can absolutely still play spoilers for the Renaissance Painters going into this match.
So let's see. It looks to be that the kick is going to be... let's see, we're getting the last setup now done by GSPS Monkey. So it's going to be the kicking it to our lizard friends. No crazy weather to start things off. And landing right next to one of the skinks as well.
Yes, so this is going to be a typical Lizard Men setup where you have all of your big scary sauruses on the front line trying to brawl with these orcs. Not the easiest thing to do because they are playing the black orcs up front, which have strength 4, which pairs very nicely into these sauruses. But once you get through those, you get to some of the more squishier orcs. I say squishy, they're still orcs. Get your skinks safely with the ball behind them and march up, try and find that opening and get the skinks through.
Alright, so it looks like the Renaissance Painters, who will have a chance of checking on some of their names, one of the best named teams in the league. A lot of loving care and attention put in there, but very little of that being applied to Butterfly Man's squad. As the early hits, though, while we've got a few knockdowns, it's only 2 out of a potential 4, and no armor breaks so far. The Orcs armor, mostly AV9 across the squad.
Yes, I believe that also applies to the Sauruses on that Lizard Men's squad. So obviously they're not going to be the real targets for these, again, Mighty Blow Blitzers, Ratclaw and Gabnail. They are going to look to get onto this back line, punch these skinks so hard, knock their lights out, get the ball out of their hands and prevent the high agility nonsense from occurring.
Well, on the subject of trying to murder skinks, I do notice that both the teams have managed to accrue themselves a mighty blow over the course of the season. We've got, I believe, 2... we'll wait for a second for the display to come back up again. In fact, there we go. That's one of the mighty blow orc blitzers. And there's another one, Gabnail, currently being cut off from the skink supply by the Saurus line.
Yeah, this Saurus line needs to hold. They have strength 4, but they don't have too many block skills. One of them has block, one of them has dodge. But aside from that, they are basically playing fair dice into these orcs. They need to hold that line, otherwise these skinks will just get bullied into submission. As we do see that wide run out here, this could end badly.
Yeah, the orcs having sent back Ratclaw to try and deal with a skink. I think got a little bit unlucky not to have managed to knock a skink over and apply that mighty blow. Looks to be that the Renaissance Painters will be setting themselves up on the left-hand flank.
Now, important thing to note here is that even at strength 4, these Sauruses are not slow by any means. They still have movement 6. This completely shuts out the entire orc side who have move 6 on their strength 3 blitzers, but their main power sources from these black orcs are only available at movement 4. So they're going to struggle to keep up with this Lizardman side if it's allowed to play the entire length of the pitch like it is currently.
So an attempted blitz between the 2 mighty blow players on opposing squads ends up with nothing happening. You can see, though, the GSPS Monkey is doing their best to keep the Ratclaw away from the squishier players as far as possible.
Yeah, this is what you want to do. They'll try and get something happening on the other side of the pitch just to see if we can get some orcs down and out. Down and out it is. Thrower goes down. That's actually their thrower on this orc side. It's going to be a badly hurt. So no further damage done, but again, Steve Orange is not really able to go forward here.
Yeah, and that's a big loss out there. Sororo, a pretty well-developed orc thrower there, would be pretty important for later on for the orcs to guarantee they can pick up the ball on their own drive, but no longer there as the orcs try and swarm into the lizards. It's a tough task against this many Sauruses, though.
What I'm scared of is we're going to have the hokey cokey where you put your entire team to the left, and then the lizard men go to the right, so you go to the right, and eventually you just end up going too far back and forth that the gaps just start appearing as, oh, okay, that's reroll skull. On the blitz, but it's going to end up in an arm break on the Saurus, and that's going to be a knockout on Vinsol Van Gogh.
Oh boy. Well, at least we get to enjoy one of those player names, as that will open up the position for Ratclaw to make a move in next to the current ball carrier, Master Splinter, who only has the basic skink skills, will currently be able to dodge away on their own turn, but still, it's a sharp reminder for Monkey that those skinks aren't perhaps as safe as they would like.
Yes. The good thing about having these skinks, however, is that they are agility 4, I believe. Yeah, agility They're in agility 3. They have dodge and stunty though, so making dodge rolls is extremely easy for them. And considering he's got no tackle zones to play into right now, especially when the dodge you have to make has been pushed away, you can just have a free runner up this side of the pitch. Maybe not considering the orc presence immediately there, but it's something that Butterfly Man needs to be aware of. The fact that these skinks can just burst across his entire line, and they get loose, you have no chance of catching them.
Yeah, we're back over to the Orc team once again as they try and reset themselves up. It does seem like the Lizards are trying to burst through on this side. As you noted before, that low movement of the Orc players, relatively speaking, it's perhaps going to catch them out here as we see a pretty wide move around from Racklor. No blitz as of yet. Maybe looking to try and pick off some back players, but at the expense of reinforcing the front.
I don't know what it's setting up for here. Getting a single dice blitz onto one of the sources on the cage, it doesn't really threaten the ball carrier is the main thing here. That skink is still able to get out on that right side or down that left flank against the edge of the pitch if he needs to. Get knocked down on that source in the middle of the pitch, but I don't know where they go from here.
So that is the most proficient of the Sauruses, Salvasaur Dali, with block and a mighty blow. Would definitely be important for Monkey to keep in circulation, as spaces attempts to be opened up a little bit on the left hand side, but you're right, there's not too much stopping the Lizards from just moving back into the centre once more.
I think that's what they're going to go for here. There's too many Orcs now on this left flank, so they're just going to give it the old hokey cokey, swing it all the way out to the right, bring a few Sauruses down to prep the ball carrier, get a blitz on. Admittedly, that is one of the block Orcs, so it's going to be a little hard to bring down, but still gets the power on Tuck, so he's down. And they'll be able to just bring a few more skinks across just to cover any dodge potentials that this Orc side could make, and just sort up this cage, make sure they can't get in on this turn, and then from there use that high mobility to get the touchdown next turn.
Notice a couple of the skinks have got sidestep already in their repertoire, as well as Raphael, who I believe that's going to be, if I
catch,
guess, yeah. Wow, so catch, a decent option for increasing the running game, works on handoffs as well, so a little bit more reliability there.
It's just extra redundancy in a very in a team that desperately needs to minimise its risk. Having the ability to have good catch rolls so you can extend your running options is going to be extremely useful. Maybe not in this situation where you're able to just outmaneuver these Orcs quite heavily, but against some of the more agile teams it could go a long way.
Raphael, that catching skink, managing to survive a blitz from the Mighty Blow, or one of the Mighty Blow players from the Stevo Rangers. Been pretty fortunate so far to not have those Mighty Blows hit in on the skinks. You mentioned before, they've got that stunty to let them dodge through tackle zones, but it's also a bit of a liability when it comes to avoiding getting injured.
Nope. Giving away double tackle dives on a no block is very risky, and it will end up punishing Butterfly Man, so Renaissance Painters will now take their turn. We'll get a blitz on this wide Orc, pushing him in towards the centre of the pitch.
Ooh, this was with a no block Saurus though, and they end up rolling double skulls into both down.
I think he was in touchdown range. I don't know what he was going for.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. I guess they figured that was just a gimme, but very much not the case. The Orcs now with the opportunity to quite likely go for a heavy attempt towards blitzing the ball carrier, the sidestep.
I mean, it does positional advantage, but unfortunately your skink is still on the floor. The sidestep comes in extremely useful when you get stuff like pushed or stumbles, where you still have your skink upright. They can then just move somewhere really annoying for these Orcs, but unfortunately if you're down it doesn't really matter too much. Unfortunately this cage has now collapsed due to the knockdowns on the Sauruses, and that's going to be the ball carrier getting sacked.
Yep, no block. Oh, Master Splinter
that's
getting
disastrous.
injured. That is the worst news. It's only a badly hurt, but the ball is now free for the Orcs to go after themselves. They have got a spare thrower. Fortunate, after that last one got injured. I think they might even be able to move up next at this turn.
Yeah, they can get someone on that ball. It is going to have to be one of the blitzers, I believe, with the ball, but he's able to immediately just dive himself into a cage where these big sauruses can't get to immediately, so they'll just be able to do the traditional Orc play of shore up the cage, slowly but surely get it up pitch. This is going to be a very risky block. I think it's only going to be... Oh, no, it's 2 dice due to the contesting tackle zones, but they actually get the knockdown, and, well, it doesn't even matter.
Wow, that's extremely unfortunate. It's going to end up being a 1 dice block from a blockless Saurus into a block-filled Black Orc. Not the situation you want to be in here. Desperation time, it's both down. The worst result into the best result. Oh boy, JSPS Monkey stays alive.
To get the ball in a decent position, this could...
What? I mean, I would take it.
Yeah, I was thinking he could, I know he can do it with this. No, he's not going to. He can absolutely just get one of the skinks in there, grab the ball, and dodge out again. It's not like he can do much else with this turn. But instead choosing to leave the ball on the pitch, surrounded by those big, muscly Sauruses, which are going to be quite hard to bring down. They have strength 4. There are a few Black Hawks knocking around, but they're not really able to take on the Sauruses directly outside of that, and they will actually manage to knock the ball out of the cage. Whoa.
That's the best Saurus just knocked out Salvatore Dali off the pitch. Does mean, though, the ball scattering ends up behind the Lizards. That's some exceptional news for them, as it's going to be pushed onto the ball once again, moving the ball further away from the Orcs. This could actually be the miracle that Monkey really needed at this point, because it's gone so wrong for them.
Yeah, they're actually... Because remember, the Lizardmen team are trying to bring the ball towards the camera. That's where they're trying to score, right? And suddenly they have the ball short off from the Orcs, and also a clean access to their ends and needs to play to. Unfortunately, that's not Stroher, is it? Or is that Stroher?
We'll find out.
Oh no, Stroher got badly hurt, didn't he? Growl.
Yes, I thought it was Gareth for a second, but sadly not.
But it should just be a free touchdown.
Oh no!
I relied on picking up the ball, which obviously Blood was not easy thing to do, but they will eventually get that, and that's going to be the first point going the way of the Renaissance Painter.
Alright, cool. Wow, what an... Well, not quite the end to the first half, but what a score there. It looked like the Orcs had it almost for certain. Some bad luck with the ball scattering in the midst of that big scrum. Favoured the Lizards. Now they're ahead. I think they've got a couple of turns still left to weather before they get out of this one, this first half clean, but double KO recovery, that's a good start.
Yeah, I will say, Butterfly Man did take kind of a risk in when he got the knockdown on that Saurus and chose to get the pushback directly onto the ball, because at that point you are just accepting your fate that with 3 Lizardmen around the ball, it's going to end up more likely towards them than you. If he pushed next to the ball, he could got some of his Orcs around the back or on top of the ball directly and could have contested it like that, but instead it just bounced harmlessly away from him and he couldn't really do anything from there.
Yes, that is very unfortunate, but regrets will only get you so far with 2 turns left to play in this half. The ball being kicked directly to the Orc squad. It looks like not going to quite get a catch straight away. Would have been a nice way to start off the half, but as it is, we'll have to just make do with the old hitting game.
Yeah, they have Grok back there. He's going to be able to grab the ball immediately as we do see another knockout on a Saurus. Pickasaur goes down.
Oh boy.
That's 3 Sauruses that have been knocked out already in this half.
Yeah, with the AV9, that's just extremely unlikely. So Master Splinter and Pickasaur out for the time being. So Master Splinter, of course, will stay out. So that puts us at 1040. Oh, that's right. So Renaissance Painters, they stay pretty much where they were. For the Orc squad, they have only got Sororo out for the time being, so they're looking pretty alright.
Oh! He gets the blitz on with the Mighty Blow Blitzer we was talking about earlier, and that's a fractured arm on Raphael as well.
Oh man, I mean, something had to give. We've been seeing these skinks getting chased down again and again with the Mighty Blow and that Stunty. The chances of injuring are huge. And it's missed next game. We're in the playoffs, so that pretty much means that they're dead unless the Lizardman team make it all the way to finals.
Absolutely. Well, they'll get the We're not in playoffs yet, so they'll at least get 2 more games, but it's definitely a hampering that if this Orc side does not stop the Renaissance Painters, they're at least heavily hampered going into their first playoff game. We'll see the pass in to try and form the Orc cage as now Cabnail is going to be punished for his transgression. Doesn't get armor broken, but these skinks realise how much danger they're in, are just running for the hills.
Yes, I think a very sensible GSPS Monkey. I think, because we're in the part of the tournament now where, we've got teams where they can legitimately make a pretty solid crack at nailing out a skink every time with Mighty Blow and Block. I think up until this point, Monkey's be able to sort of rely on the dodge to keep those skinks alive. I really just don't think that's an option anymore.
Yeah, you're just going to get run down by taking too many dice in a row. We're going to see a blitz action and presumably a foul here from the Steve-O Rangers. We get the Racklaw pushing towards his team, and that does actually at least allow chain blocks, so we could see some more punching action happening first.
There it's Henry Sortis who's currently getting passed around the York team. But fortunately, no armor break there. Right, it has been some pretty unfortunate armor breaks so far. Though, of course, with all this Mighty Blow in the mix, it's much more likely as we're going to see a foul coming in onto Henry Sortis. And will it be an armor break? No, that was a bold move. Here's another.
They'll get the value pass just for the SPP. It's not going to be extremely relevant, but it feels good at least. So going to the half, Renaissance Painters still a point up, but significantly worse off than they were, considering one of their better skinks has been removed from the pitch and the next game, in fact. These sources do not want to stay down.
So it's a strange combination, isn't it? The sources, they're getting knocked out continuously, but they keep coming back. I don't know if I'd necessarily, expected to see quite as many armor breaks at this point in proceedings, but it does mean that we're down 2 skinks coming into the second half. Marta Splinter and Raphael before that catch skink, who would have been amazing at trying to move the ball further down the pitch. We're down to just 3 skinks total.
Yeah, and a lot of the point scoring capabilities from this Lizardman side does come from having access to those skinks, because they just run the ball to the point where the Orcs can't catch them. If you're trying to play through sources, they have agility 1. They cannot ball handle well at all. You desperately need these skinks to stay alive, and right now that is not happening.
We do have the blitz coming in though, and the ball is going to land extremely short. This could be an amazing opportunity for GSPS Monkey to get in there and get access. They could
get a Saurus underneath that. Like, he has agility 1, he probably doesn't make that catch, but he definitely gets the Orcs under a lot of pressure. And if he does make that catch, then it's just sort of curtains.
Well, especially if we see, if we see Racklaw getting blitzed away here, we could definitely see it under it. But no, looks like trying to play out a little bit more safe. Not going to try for the catch. Will makes the block successfully. So that's 2 Sauruses who are going to be on the ball. We're of course going to worry about the bounce as well, and it lands right in the perfect place for the Lizardman team.
They only have 1 blitz, so they can only remove 1 point of this cage around the down ball currently. They are going to need to get some very fortunate blocks here if they're going to get a hold of this ball right now, because I feel like what's going to happen is one of those skinks is going to grab it, run back around the line of scrimmage, and from there the Orcs are going to struggle to pick it back up.
Alright, Pablo Picasso is going to get injured. Oh boy, we're done with KOs apparently. We're going to have to take the badly hurts. I can't see the Apothecary being used there, so that's another big hitter off the field. For the Renaissance Painters, they may have the ball positioning right now, but how long can they keep hold of it?
And the thing is, they can't afford to use their pocket 3s on badly hurts this game. They need to hold on for those worst results, the potentially deaths or bad injuries. Because again, if they win this game, they still have a playoffs to go to.
Oh boy, a 1 dice block at the end there almost cost the Steve-O Rangers. Of course, this is our Dodge Saurus, Andy Sawhall. Ah, so great. As the Shorehands pick up with 3, goes wild, and ends up in a better position for the Orcs.
That's not too bad, actually. You did put your thrower in a lot of pressure there, but because he failed to pick up, the ball lands in a better position. The skinks are going to struggle to hold that one safely. They'd probably lose your thrower for it, though.
He's certainly going to get a clobber in. No armor break. A big decision point for Lizardman team, whether or not they decide to go forward and actually try and grab the ball for themselves. Could see another blitz. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
you
going to be in the
can-
tackle zone, and it's the loner player is the one who picks it up. That's an early turnover.
That's unfortunate, because if he gets hold of the ball, he has the agility, he has the skill set to just move back out to safety. But unfortunately, because he got downed, he's going to get down and out, and that's another injury on the journeyman skink. He's not getting hired.
Looks like someone's just failed their job interview. Oh boy, this was all looking so good before. There's another one dice block into another skull, but this time it's re-rolled into a power defender downs, and it's going to be another armor break. This is a disaster upon disaster. Mighty blow means Monet is stunned, and the entire left flank is torn open for the Orcs to advance.
They can just get the ball onto the thrower, shore up a cage around him and go, yeah, this is the Orc game plan now, we're taking this to at least a draw, and remember, the Renaissance Painters need a win here.
Oh boy. I have to wonder what's on the mind now of GSPS Monkey. So many armor breaks in this game. The Orcs, they've been relentless in their assault so far. They're trying to capture the center as well. I think you're right, we're going to be seeing just the ball pick up. And, oh wow, a throw?
I mean, he's a thrower, he's doing his job, but unfortunately, the Orcs not necessarily known for being good receivers. The ball lands eventually in a pretty reasonable position for the Orcs, but not in their hands, so they're going to struggle to pick it back up again, you'd think.
Okay, an opportunity comes unlocking for GSPS Monkey, with at least the ball a little bit better than before. It's hard to say. One turn's worth of opportunity to maybe grab that ball, but not going to risk it this time. With only one skink... No, sorry, I take it back. 2 skinks left in circulation. You have to think just the possibility of getting the ball at all is getting slimmer by the moment.
They don't need the ball necessarily, they just need to keep the Orcs off it, and because of the sequencing of that turn, they have managed to get a good number of sources around it to make it very awkward for these Orcs to handle it safely. So they can at least draw. If they just stall at this half, they win. That is their win condition right now. And just stop the Orcs getting a hold of this ball and getting into the end zone. They have to delay for 6 more turns. That's definitely in the realm of possibility, but the Orcs aren't going to make it easy for them.
No, not at all. So let's see. So I believe we've got a decent. Yeah, we have very much got a decent Orc numbers advantage on the pitch. As going for it goes poorly, and we've seen rerolls burns already. That's going to be down to 1 as a result of that.
And more importantly, you now don't have rerolls on your blocks. Admittedly, this one goes okay. They're able to get the Saurus away from those Orcs trying to get a hold of the ball. Get another push away. They just bring up the ball here. That's all they need to do. Because as soon as they get it, they can pull it to safety. And from there, it's going to be very hard to get a hold of. Because again, that numbers advantage goes straight into the hands of the Orcs. That's not too bad.
I don't know if I like this from Butterfly Man. They keep trying to pick up the ball in very hard to pick up situations. I think just to try and move the ball away.
Yes.
And this time, it's dropped into the perfect position right in the heart of the Orc team. But if it had gone a different way, then we could be seeing the Renaissance Painters with a chance to steal it.
Absolutely. We could probably get the ball knocked around a bit more as well, because I think, no, they're just using this blitz to get the Saurus onto the ball. Gab hook goes down.
That's major. So with Gabhook no longer part of things, that's one of the mighty blows lost for the Orc team. That's a huge drop in power for them, and one less way for them to be able to reliably take out the skinks.
Yeah, it's not one of the ones with the mighty blow, unfortunately. For
Is it
that.
not? Oh no!
No.
I spoke too soon.
You'll see one of them on the top left there, and one of them just below the ball. They've all managed to get themselves around the ball, and presumably going to punch this Salvador Dali, away. This has almost freed the ball again. If they get another pushback here and then a blitz with that man who's going to stand up, the dodge Saurus comes in clutch once again.
One dice blocks again. This could have gone so badly for Butterfly Man, but they managed to get the knockdown there despite the block disparity. As we've got charging up from the backfield, Garroth is getting the ball. He's going to pass it up the pitch.
This elf nonsense?
Oh my gosh, it makes it!
What is this?
This is extremely silly, but it's going to be a touchdown. Neither of these teams want to go for a draw here, apparently. Steve-O Rangers could have grinded that one out, but now Monkey's got a chance to score back again.
What kind of elf-level shenanigans, pure nonsense was that? This is an orc side, not meant to do that! Oh my lord, that is some strong belief in your throwers right there from Butterfly Man.
Oh boy, okay, so let's do the check-in. Splinter and Zyxty, Lona and Raphael all out of commission. Pablo Picasso as well. On the other side, it's the thrower Shreru, who had themselves, I believe, leader and block, and a blitzer, with of course block as Kane built in. So definitely numbers favouring the Orcs right now. Monkey, if they can survive, can score back and try and compete for that playoffs place. As a Riot comes in, could be good, could be bad news.
That's an extremely good kick as well. They do not have the turns right now, or the manpower to sort of play the slow game where they have to bring the ball up the entire length of the pitch. Having it land right there is really nice, because now they can just get it on one of those skinks and just immediately start playing hard and fast Blood Bowl.
Alright, Salvasaur on the left-hand flank. Unfortunately doesn't make the knockdown with that mighty blow, but it looks to be that the centre's going to get somewhat opened up. That's going to end up being a one-dice block unless, yes, we're seeing the movement back. I think maybe a cage being attempted near the line, but that's not a very secure cage for the Lizards.
That's actually pretty secure in terms of dodges, but not necessarily in terms of blocks, especially when your corner piece goes down like that. Because to get directly onto this skink right now, you do need to make 2 or 3 dodge rolls, or the alternative is you just get a decent block on, say, the Saurus in the middle of the pitch right now, and just blitz the ball carrier. You have access to some amazing blitzers. You can absolutely afford to use them right now. You have the man advantage, and you need to be pressuring it.
So ball carrier Michelangelo has got sidesteps. You always have to be a little bit careful you don't end up accidentally pushing that skink somewhere you don't want to go, as the one dice block works out beautifully. Oh boy, but we're down to 0 rerolls for the Steve-O Rangers here. Any mistake at this point is quite likely to cost them the match.
We'll see some positional here. They're just trying to make sure there's no space for the skink to just run through and get loose for a touchdown. But if this blitz works out, they could actually just run it down this left side, excuse me. Just bring the Saurus forward a step. No, they'll look to play around this cage right now instead of trying to make dodges. Well, I say that. And they get him towards the left, set up for a future turn. They don't have the movement right now to just go completely hog wild.
So the Saurus strength advantage against the non-black orcs is paying out here as we track. It's going to get injured. That's a line orc taken off the field with a badly hurt. Not too shabby at all. It's looking like Monkey from Brunel University is actually starting to make their way back into the match.
They have the field advantage right now. They don't necessarily have the power advantage in terms of players, but this cage should be set up strong enough where they don't have minimal blocks onto it, so there's less of a chance of these Sauruses going down, so this skink with the ball will be protected for longer.
Alright, so the Orc team's definitely still down about 110 team value here. The Saurus is definitely worth a lot, but they're still keeping some decent presence in the mid. Let's see, can the Renaissance Painters break through? As you said, they need to get the win here. That's a good hit.
That actually frees up the entire left side. You don't even need to blitz that remaining Orc. You can just run it down the side here. You move a few sources around to protect that, but you can absolutely just run this skink down the flank now.
Alright.
Okay, maybe not that far.
Well, Michelangelo has got that sidestep, so doesn't have to worry about getting knocked off of the pitch. But...
yes. That's the key. You could just run all the way, because I don't think they have any chance of catching up to him if he does. And just use his full movement allowance, get him all the way down the pit, get him out of the range of these Orcs, even if they make a dodge blitz.
Yeah, this is the one turn that Butterfly Man's Black Orcs can still be in a position to do anything about this. As you mentioned, the movement for the very, very slow players. Once the play gets past the central point, they're really going to struggle to keep up.
They send the Orc back to try and cover for anything going wrong, but I don't think he's going to be a factor in this game. I think if at the point where he's a factor in the game, the Skateman's already in scoring range. And they're going to try and make this blitz. It's not even going to be on the ball carrier, it's going to be on this Saurus. So this is the problem with not going all the way in this turn, is that, or last turn even, as now there are orcs on the ball carrier directly, even not threatening, it's still a lot of dodge rolls you have to make. Sword Monet goes down, but I don't think that's going to be a factor in the outcome of this match.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate, but that Black Orc will spend 3 of those 4 movement points getting up again, so they're kind of more or less KO'd as far as the overall game is concerned. The Blitz will...
That's all you needed. That's all they needed. They just need to get that off the ball carrier, and that's an immediate touchdown. The Renaissance Painters will go 2-1 in this game.
Oh, will they?
I will be quiet. They have a reroll.
Oh boy. Man, this game has been crazy so far. And that's another, I thought for a second there we were going to see that fail and have the entire game be thrown on just, for want of a couple of going for it rolls.
Just put that entire thing on a knife's edge. So, Steve Rangers still have a few turns. They're down a few orcs, but I think they have the... Well, okay, you can see the dugout of this Lizardman side. They have the man advantage right now. They can potentially do another ridiculous throwing play to get themselves the touchdown. Play the spoiler, because again, if this goes to a draw, Renaissance Painters cannot make the playoffs. It comes down to these last 2 turns now. For Butterfly Man and the Steve Rangers. Can they make this happen?
Oh, I don't know about this. We've got some very deep defending skinks on the backfield. There's still 2 turns. As you said, the Orcs have shown themselves more than willing to make passing plays the entire length of the pitch. I think it's very possible, especially with an extra reroll, that they're going to make a serious attempt towards running the ball down the pitch.
The ball has landed right at the feet of the throw. This is the perfect position for them. They'll get a few of these Sauruses down, just try and make some space on the pitch. Stop the what presumably will happen if they are upright, is they just immediately go to these flank players who are just going to run down the pitch.
That's a significant failure on that last block. Does leave Andy Sawhall in contention to maybe go after a player. I have to imagine now the pass will be the Gabnell, who's the most protected of the remaining blitzers.
Yeah, they'll try and... Oh, I don't know if I like this blitz. Okay, it has block. I like it a little more. But you need the ball this turn to move it up the pitch to have a decent chance at making the pass that you need to win this game.
Here we go.
Are they going to handoff?
Yes, it will be a handoff, so 1 less dice roll made. Fortunate because the catch roll is a failure. It's a rerolled into a successful one, so Gabnell's going to be chucking it up the pitch. The only thing between him and the end zone is going to be Salvatore Dali and the 2 remaining skinks.
Yes, so the advantage of making this play is you require less agility rolls. The bad news is now you can have this skink collapse, and this could just knock the ball carrier out entirely.
Alright, so Salvatore is well within reach of knocking over Gabnell. We are down to the last turn, next turn. It's a push, presumably onto the side of the pitch. It's still a possibility of a draw.
This is risky. Oh, this is risky. They're going to have to blitz with the ball carrier. They're going to hit the skink directly above him. He's going to try and get a knockback or better, and he's just going to have to run for the hills.
Oh boy. All down to this final turn for the Steve-O Rangers with no rerolls left at all. They're going to have to hope that fate is smiling on these dice. They're all the remaining Orcs who can make it across the ball carrier are there. We're seeing so many blocks happening before the crucial one as well, because of how unlikely this whole thing is. Here we go, it's a skull! And it's not going to be a draw.
Oh. That last turn could have gone either direction for both of the teams. Last of the few turns, actually. You saw how close that touchdown was from not happening for the Renaissance Painters. They'll play out the rest of the turn, but it's just getting up in a skull. And that will be the game. 2-1 to Renaissance Painters, who now keep their playoff dreams alive going into the rest of the games.
Oh, wow. I mean, but it's, just on that last turn, though, it really felt like, that anything could happen right up until the very end of the match. All credit to the Rangers. I think they played that one out extremely well. I'm kind of surprised that didn't end up being a draw.
If there were like a few dice that went away from them, and that's all that kept it going out of their way. I also think they technically misplayed on making that high nonsense agility play, where yes, it got them the touchdown, but it also it stopped them eating up a lot of the clock, which allowed the Renaissance Painters enough time to score back. So a few small mistakes for the Steve Rangers, but I will agree they played the majority of their game excellently.
So let's see how it ended up. Oh wow, the SPP wise, both teams really, picked up a whole bunch there. For the Painters, you see they've got theirs a little bit more spread out across the field, but we'll have to see if that ends up with them getting any level ups. Let's take a quick look at the stats for the last match. You can see the Painters held onto the ball a heck of a lot more than the Rangers did.
So it's kind of not what you expect from the Orc side, just not having enough ball possession, because what you want to do is, like I said, you want to get the ball in the cage, you want to eat up as much of the clock as possible and stop the skinks from doing skink things, and unfortunately, they did an excellent impersonation of elves, which does not suit the playstyle of Orcs.
Alright guys, so with that all done and dusted and the Renaissance Painters' dreams remaining alive, we've got our second match coming up for you after a short break. Cubby, who's it going to be?
Well, the Renaissance Painters are going to watch this one closely because it is going to be Java Programming and West Street War. If either team wins, they lock themselves in for playoffs. If they draw, they're both in for playoffs. If one of them lose, they could potentially be in for the tiebreakers with the Renaissance Painters. That's all coming up after this break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Down the rabbit hole again, and as I fall I can feel the pain. You can't tell me where to go, so I don't know, I just go with the flow. I go with the flow. I'm falling up, I'm falling down, from the sky and from the ground. I burn bright just like below, and I don't know where I should go. 'Cause I'm stuck in limbo. I'm out of love, but I guess I deserved it. Trying to hide, to pass you by. I'm getting down, feeling fine. I'm light as air, no one can reach me. Lost in a dream, lost in between. Let's keep on flying, let's keep on breathing. I'm falling up, I'm falling down, from the sky and from the ground. I burn bright just like below, and I don't know where I should go. 'Cause I'm stuck in limbo.
Welcome back, gentle friends, to the second part of our 3 games covering week number 7 of the NUEL Blood Bowl competition. It is the last week of the regular season. All the teams are fighting for a playoffs place or indeed for playoffs positioning. So for anyone who came to the stream just now, Kirby, what have we got coming up for the folks watching?
we have two teams that are in top 8. They could potentially win or draw their game tonight and stay in top 8, but if they lose, there's a chance they get knocked out. It is the 4th placed Java Programming, the Chaos team coached by Karaka, versus the 6th placed West Street War, the Yorkside coached by Losra.
So, I'm kind of fascinated to see, because Java Programming, despite not necessarily being at the very top of the table, they were able to give Masterful, the player who is, their first draw of the season. Masterful has not lost all season, but did draw last week. So, with the high team value for Java Programming, I feel like they've got a lot of momentum heading into their last match of the regular season.
Absolutely. And you say draw, once again, that's all they need to make sure they guarantee their spot in top 8. On the other side, we have the West Street War, who have been amazing all season long, especially thanks to their star player, level 3 Blitzer Soyo, who has been just the greatest ball carrier potentially in this entire league. He's managed to get himself bonus agility, bonus movement allowance. He is basically I say he's going to be an orc in cheap elf's clothing. Get that out of my mouth. But we saw that last game with the ridiculous orc passing plays before, so some high competition in the agility orc front.
So Shinsuke, yeah, welcome to the stream. I know that you're not a Blood Bowl player, so we'll do our best as much as we can while we're commentating this game to let you know what's going on in terms of the game itself. So this is, as we're saying, this is a playoff contention match.
Playoff game, if you will.
Yes, a playoff for the playoffs. I like it. And oh, hello. We'll get into the game, and you'll notice, hopefully, there's something going on in the stadium.
Yes, there's a bell in the background. It's not being ruined. I'm not okay with it. It is snowing. I cannot remember the rules for snow. That's the thing. It's always nice weather. You always forget about the weather rules until you actually have to come up against them.
Yes, it does not happen very often that we actually start off with a unusual piece of weather. Honestly, I wasn't even aware that could happen that way, but we'll check in a second as to what specifically is going to be the consequences for starting off. I'd imagine it's probably going to be something to do with ball handling, or running, or some combination of the two.
There's no obscures vision, so you can't make long bombs, and you have 1 and 2 fail to go for it. I'm calling that. I don't know if I'm right.
Oh, almost. So it's the going for it part that does seem to be correct, though.
Wait.
So Eddie going
only quick or short. Hey, I was right.
Oh no, you're right. It was just the other way around. Okay, so quick or short passes, so no more orc nonsense, even if you've got agility 4. And going for it, so twice as risky as they would be normally.
So, obviously, the West Street War have been suffering a few injuries as of late. They are currently playing with, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 loner players. 5 loner players, actually. Basically, what that means is they don't have access to rerolls. You have a limited number of rerolls per half, and if you have a player with loner trying to use a reroll, they have a 50% chance of just taking the reroll and not using it, and you just... Usually that ends up in giving away the turn, because if you fail a roll in Blood Bowl, you give away your turn.
Yes, that is very, very bad, as we do have the starting out here for Recursion. You may well notice the theme with here the team names for Java Programming. Karaka from Newcastle University, a computer science student, definitely wearing their heart on their sleeve with their team member names. Notable here, OOP with block and guard, one of the beastmen, an extremely powerful player.
Yes, guards. Usually when you have these line scrimmages, their effective individual players weakened because they're sharing tackle zones. They can't confer defensive bonuses. When you have guards, you can confer defensive bonuses while being marked by other players. Immediate armor break there on the blitz there for that player. OOP is definitely showing his worth, especially with the extra strength bonus from the horns on the blitz.
Yes, very, very good. So that's going to be a big problem for the Orcs' left flank. As the ball pickup will need to happen, it will go through successfully. Both of these players here with sure hands, giving them the chance to re-roll the dice, which is, of course, extremely valuable when it's a game all about rolling dice. The Orcs, though, they are tough customers to put down.
Yes, both these teams are extremely punchy. They have a lot of skills that lend themselves to that. They have good access to block, guards as well, get some rerolls coming through here just to try and get this man down, but he refuses to go down. Big O just holding his ground. So this is exactly the kind of situation where the Orcs want to be in, where they're in a base-to-base contact with a lot of the opposing teams, so they're able to get a lot of these rolls through, try and get some knockdowns, try and get some armor breaks that could potentially keep the player down for longer, and just try and maintain control of the pitch before the ball gets hit.
This is as good a time as any to talk about some of the inducements that Lothra has brought into this game. So, as their team has much lower team value, they've not only been able to bring in a Black Orc to replace the one of theirs that got horribly murdered before, and give them guard, but they've also got a wizard to rely on as well.
Yes, wizard. It is replacing your turn to just cast a spell, isn't it?
Oh no, so you can, I believe you can cast it at the beginning of your turn, though I seem to remember I might be wrong on that one. It allows you to either play a Fireball or a Lightning Bolt, both of which have a chance to... Oh, hello.
Oh, do you feel to go for it on a frenzy? That's hilarious, actually.
Oh boy.
No, that's a very sort of niche thing about the blitz rules, where you have to take a step of movement to use a blitz. If that eats up into your go for it space, you need to make a go for it roll. And if you have frenzy, you have to make another go for it roll. And in these slippery conditions, you just end up failing that roll, and you end up on the floor.
So for the West Street War, the reason why they've got so many of these loner players is because so many of their other players are dead. And I mentioned before, that's, the loner perk, such as it is a purely negative thing. For the Chaos team, they've only got 3 of these Chaos Warriors when they could have 4. Instead of getting that 4th one, they picked up Recursion, this Minotaur, who's extremely powerful, but as we've seen already, not the most reliable.
Yeah, access... Wild Animal is strictly negative trait. It just means you have a 1 in 6 chance of not attacking and a half odds of not doing anything else. And obviously Frenzy can be situationally useful, as it allows you to get multiple blocks on one person, which could can lead into a knockdown, arm break, so on and so forth. But as you can see, sometimes it forces you into a bad position, or forces you to eat into your go for it movement, and ends up with you stunned on the floor.
Ugh. So the Chaos team, one of the notable things is, trying to pick up as many block as possible, but unfortunately that Chaos Warrior did not have it, even after a reroll. And there's the Wizard. We don't have to worry about that anymore, because the Lightning Bolt 2+ successfully stunned, and that ball is now free for the Orcs to go after.
Yep, so the ball is down in the... I mean, it's surrounded by the Chaos Warriors momentarily, but I imagine with this knockback, this could go anywhere. Well... We were talking about high agility shenanigans before. I was not expecting to come through this cleanly for the West Street War. That's their star ball carrier. So he was halfway up the pitch still. He's still in his own half.
This is extremely bad news for Karaka to have lost control of all this early on. We can see the Orcs are swarming around the Chaos team to keep them from trying to get that ball back. We've got a stun on a mathematic student there, so they won't be able to get back up again. And a loner roll from one of the linemen ends up turning over. Oof.
Yeah, this is the issue of playing with so few of your own players, is that you do end up in these situations where you just need to burn rerolls, and sometimes just get to go through. We see the Wild Animal coming in as well. Because you standing up is not a block action, it means you can only stand up on a 4+ on a dice. So half odds of just laying on the floor doing nothing, which is not really what you want your star player to be doing.
So Lothra's in the chat talking about some of the decision making that went into this game, because this is a review rather than a live game. And they made a good point that they set up in such a way that most of the dice would have favoured them, whichever direction the ball ended up scattering. But let's see what happens now as the Blitz comes in, knocks down Macnast, the current ball carrier on the Orc team. Let's see if the scatters is favourable. Still pretty good for the Orcs. Yeah,
at least they have one of the Chaos players directly on top of the ball, but unfortunately, because that's one of the last moves they have in the turn, they can't bring extra players on top of it. So now with only one player next to the ball and plenty of Orcs in base contact with him, what we're going to see here is some punching to get him off the ball, and then presumably, arm break. Just could be a stun, but that's very nice for the West Street War. No, that is Soyo down there next to the ball. He's just going to run it in.
Yes, I mean, affectionately, the West Street War known as Soyo and the rest of the team. Definitely the standout player there. For the rest of the Orcs, though, I mean, even though the rest of the players are generally a lot less skilled, they're doing a decent job. We can't forget about West Street Live, though. Tackle and Mighty Blow.
That's the thing about Orcs, right? They have the punching game sorted. They have access to so much block, so much strength 4. They can absolutely brawl. What they like is an excellent ball carrier. You put agility and movement on a blitzer, and suddenly he becomes the all-star ball carrier you need. You don't need much else. You can just play through Soyo and have the rest of the team hold the line for him.
And Recursion, the Minotaur on the floor, has stays down again. So, as you noted before, unless Recursion gets to take an aggressive act like a blitz from the floor, they've got only a 50% chance of standing up. So far, they're refusing, as we do have a good hit coming in for the Chaos squad. No injury, but a stun at least.
Yep. So, I mean, granted they've bought themselves a bit of field position, but you see how the ball is in enemy territory, and this is trying to set themselves up for the second half, where they can't actually catch up to Say at this point, so they just have to try and take out as many Orcs in the process, and hopefully set themselves up for the second drive of this half.
I mean, well, even while Karaka's Team Java Programming are one of the most developed teams in the league, they're still a long way away from what a Chaos team will eventually become, which is an absolute thresher that will kill pretty much anything. Right now, you can see desperate to go after Soyo. We will have reinforcements arriving from the Orc side of things. I think Soyo could probably just dodge away even if they wanted to anyway.
Yeah, but the blitz is safer. You're still Orcs. You still have access to block. You can just take those 2 dice in your favour and hold out for a turn, because I think what we're going to see here is the stall out for this half. I don't know the man count up the pitch right now, but if the Orcs think they can win the brawl, and they're Orcs, they probably can, they want to drag it out as long as possible so they can have as many of these blocks as possible to try and injure, set up for the second half, and hold out to a 1-0 or possibly a 2-0 scoreline.
A dodge away doesn't go so well for Varag Brucefing, who is the Black Orc with Guard who was hired in specifically for this game. It doesn't feel like, without the Monitor on its feet, it doesn't feel like Karaka's team are actually going to win out in this big scrum. As we do see the charge down, trying to at least force the score from the Orc team, even if they can't stop it.
Yeah, if you just put enough threat on the ball carrier, eventually Loster will have to go, okay, next turn there's a chance I'm going to lose the ball, I'm just going to guarantee this score right now and get some pressure off of these Chaos squad, which is kind of what Karaka probably wants at this point, considering the beating he's been taking so far. He's got himself up for a couple of decent blocks this turn, but he's going to probably end up leaving himself in a bad position if he goes for them. I think he's just going to try and set himself up where he has to take 2 or 3 mediocre blocks at best. Yeah.
It's unfortunate the Minotaur Recursion staying on the field again. That's 3 4+ rolls failed in a row. Soyo, I think it's going to style their way in. There we go, that's the touchdown. The ball's stolen. A disaster for the Chaos team. Unable to get past the Orc line, losing the ball as well.
Yeah, right, that was the kick to Java programming for the start of the drive, wasn't it? So that means at the start of the second half, it'll be West Street Walrus. So there's a very good chance they drag this out to a 2-0 score.
Yeah, this is real bad news. At least Recursion, that Minotaur, will be back on his feet, as you can see quite a few Minotaur fans in attendance here today. But with that snow in place, for the Chaos team, if they're going to need to go for it to get close to the end zone, it's going to be twice as risky as it would be normally.
They have okay movement. It's 5s and 6s across the boards. They're not too slow. They have only 2 turns to get this ball in, though, and they have no access to good range passing. They have the capability of making such passes. So probably, yeah, this is a good setup here from Lostra. He's got a good wide coverage. He's protecting his flanks so they can't get just a random beastman down the side to get a pass or handoff to. This bribe might come in useful for the second half, but I don't necessarily know they get value out of it immediately.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky because there's not any particularly obvious... Oh, hello. Is this going to be injury?
Why is KO? I believe that, yeah, that's one of the substitute linemen for the West Street War, so not too worried about losing him. He's not got enough value on him as a player to really warrant concern over his well-being. But at least get a few knockbacks, control this line, and hopefully finds some space to get this ball up.
Yeah, that block coming in crucial. As the Chaos team try and force their way through center, it's an incredibly hard thing to do at the best of times. The Chaos team, of course, somewhat famously inept at picking up the ball at the best of times now need to pull off what we've been seeing from the Orcs all day long, which is not just picking up the ball, but moving up the pitch at speed.
Now, Original T3, they're not terrible ball handlers. Yeah, they get the immediate pickup. They run it halfway up the pitch. There's a Chaos Warrior there. I don't know they're in scoring range is the thing. They've used a lot of resources on holding this line. I don't know if they have anyone in scoring range, at least not without significant risk.
So that will be OOP, one of the players who was further forward, getting knocked over with Mighty Blow from West Street Live. The other good player on the West Street War team. The Orcs coalesce around the centre. Let's see, so we've got Bighorn 2. And, oh wow, we're seeing the foul coming in.
That's just oh, we must have never mind.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
Okay. Badly hurt. So no permanent damage done to object-oriented programming, but he's at least out for the rest of the game. That's quite good, actually, for the side of West Street Wires. They now have... This is just 3 turns for them, because I don't think at this point the Chaos side can score. And again, West Street Wire will be receiving next half. So they're just setting up themselves excellently to get this second touchdown going. They'll get the stun out at least in revenge, but small pickings for them, considering they probably aren't even able to score this turn.
I think this kind of, to me, really illustrates how even if your team starts off doing kind of badly in League, like with the Orcs here, they've taken multiple deaths. They're still functioning pretty darn well because of how solid their basic players are.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't necessarily need progression. Progression helps you a lot with good skills, good stats, etc. Sometimes all you need is a good few rolls and some good positioning and some good fundamentals, and you can just get your Minotaur punched in the face because he doesn't have block for some reason.
Well, I mean, you know, you're always hoping for that Minotaur block, but unfortunately not even any level ups so far. You know, this was a big decision that Cracker was taking to bring that Minotaur in rather than a 4th Chaos Warrior. There's much bigger highs from a Minotaur, but much bigger lows, as we saw there. Very unreliable at the best of times, but sometimes can pull off some really impressive play.
So what we'll see here is this is a free turn for the West Street Wild. All they can do is punch, and punch they will as they get an injury on Medium Horn.
Oh boy, he's starting to really chip away at that team value of Karaka. I mean, you know, we're seeing these loner linemen from the Orc side. They're only worth 50 team value, but they, as we see, when we've got a bribe because of that kickoff result, you can pretty much use them to foul as much as you want.
Absolutely. Like, you can just punch in the face and try and set yourself up man advantage here. Because if you can keep that Minotaur down, it is 150 team value. It is, like, a powerful unit if it doesn't fail its wild animal rolls. It punches like a truck. If you can take it out of the match, that is so good for you. And at worst, all you lose is one of these linemen with Loner. You don't particularly care about them. They're okay, but they're not, like, worth trying over.
Yeah, well,
so
you bring up a really big concern for Karaka going forward, which is not only are they currently down to almost equal team value with Lostra, but any time that Minotaur goes down, it's 100% getting gang fouled.
Yeah, like, and even if it doesn't get gang fouled, right? It has a half odds of not even standing up. Like, if they can get it down, it basically keeps itself down for free.
Yeah, this is why I do not like this, the Minotaur being kept on the line of scrimmage. That's almost a guaranteed knockdown there, and then we end up in exactly the situation we had before, where there were 3 turns for that Minotaur may as well have not been on the team.
Alright, so this is the West Street Wire receiving again. They'll set up pretty aggressive formation. They'll keep Sawyer back to be that ball carrier, as mentioned before. So where this kick goes. Well, the extra roll is going to help them out. I mean, they don't necessarily need a great deal of help, but having an extra roll just helps these blocks go a lot nicer.
First block takes down Semicolon. So a successful block over on Bighorn 2 would open up the chance to knock down the Minotaur as well. We've got Sayo, the absolute star beyond stars, waiting patiently for what is his due, which is of course every single ball. And that guard from the Black Orc means that we're going to be seeing a mighty blow hit on the Minotaur.
Yeah, I would really roll that. You have really good odds of getting a knockdown here, and with the Mighty Blow, you have a decent chance of shredding armor. Doesn't quite get it this turn, but now because of the blitz, you're able to bring that player right the way back. Just cover the ball, get it onto Soyo again, and from there you can cage up, stall the game out, get that 8-turn touchdown, and guarantee yourself the game and your playoff position.
Alright, so it's looking extremely good for the West Street Wall right now, and there we go. Soyo effortlessly plucks the ball from the turf. The Chaos team will have a chance to get some hits back in, and it looks like they're not going to be bringing up the Minotaur, with the Blitz going to go instead after the ball carrier, takes out Sorast, and gets the break as well, but no injury.
Yeah, they need to just try and get themselves some space here, stop the Orc cage from advancing forwards so they can get a few blocks on the corner pieces so they can eventually get the Blitz onto that centre piece with the ball. And so far they're doing a good job of it, but they have left themselves in contact with a lot of Orcs here. And as we've said before, Orcs do win that straight punch fest. They are Orcs, they have access to block, they have access to strength 4. The Minotaurs have horns, but you can only use them while blitzing. They are definitely behind in a straight up fight, which just looks like what these Chaos squad is trying to force.
Well, good news for Karaka is they were able to make that successful wild animal roll to get back up their Minotaur without blitzing with it. That once per turn is extremely valuable to hold on to. Rolling a 6 is very, very good news, so the center stays intact for Chaos for the time being. And it looks like the Orcs might actually be trying to open up the option to make a move down the left-hand side, given this is a movement 7 blitzer, of course.
Yeah, they have the freedom of doing this. That's a reroll. Like, you saw how many Minotaurs and Chaos Warriors got committed to that right flank. So at that point, as the West Street Wall, you can just go, okay, we have the movement advantage. You've left very few players on this left flank or even towards the centre. We can just bring a few players across and suddenly we have field advantage again. The dodge will fail on the right of the pitch, though, so that does potentially mean we could see some flood through of players. And also this middle isn't too well protected currently for the West Street War, so they could just run it straight up the centre. Unfortunately, no block on your Chaos Warriors, and that's actually been a knockout on... okay, it's a double arm break, but Semicolon does get the better of it as he only gets stunned as Fire Pit Rocks does get knocked out.
So, I mean, that's a small bit of good news for the Chaos team, but importantly...
But it does also meet the turn, so... That does mean that the Orcs are just able to just go, okay, now your field is wide open, we're going to just run straight through.
Yeah, you don't need to even use that extra movement to get past when you can just sweep Recursion out of the way. I mean, we've got conditional loops of strength for Beastmen we haven't even had a chance to talk about yet because they haven't been able to make an impact, even though they are actually one of the, most eye-opening players on the whole team with the ability to blitz at strength 5.
Yeah, it doesn't mean he'll be able to challenge Black Orc and get 2 dice, but again, the blitz is only once per turn, and if you're using it on him, you can't necessarily use it on another unit with better positional advantage. Soyo is loose, and unless we see the... Okay, he's actually making a handoff, and I don't know this is wise. It does actually end up working out for him. And I do think now that does actually shut out any potential shenanigans with a Minotaur blitz. So this should be lost for his touchdown. That's a question of how many turns can he stall out for, and is the remaining turns enough for Java programming to get the counter touchdown?
So Chaos trying to bring back their players' desperation. You can see, well, we've got to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're a little bit short. In fact, short by 1 if I make my count on making the score next turn as the Minotaur breaks armor again. This time it's going to be, I don't know, it's another KO. So actually...
Only on a journeyman, though. So that's okay. Granted, you'd rather have those players up for the next remainder of the drive, but oh, another arm break goes down here. That's only a stun, however.
Not a KO, just an okay.
Hey.
It does mean that the strength 4 Beastman is freed up, but rather than going after the ball, it looks to be that we're going to be just going after as many injuries as possible.
Yeah, triple breaks. Like, you have a few players down by the ball, you're not going to be able to get too many Minotaurs down there safely. What you want to try and do is get a few so you can force the touchdown as soon as possible, and while that's happening, make sure to take out as many Orcs as possible so you can get the 2 touchdowns you need to get the draw, which keeps you a lock for playoffs.
Yeah, well, I mean, Java's, Java programming, Caracas Java programming coming into this one in 4th, one of the teams that are more secure in their position, so I can definitely see the reasoning for trying to snavel up as much SPP as possible. For the West Street War, they came into this in 6th, so if they can win out here, this is going to be pretty major for their chances of making sure they stay in that top 8.
Yeah, they are both in the same situation playoffs-wise, but seeding is important. You are the better seed, you technically play against the worst opponents, which means you have a better chance of making it deeper into the playoffs. So a win here would do a great value for the team, but they are still both in on draw. But unfortunately for Karaka, I don't necessarily know who's going to be able to get one right now because he's not able to bring down the ball carrier, who's definitely in touchdown.
So we're going to need to see some heavy running back towards that one turn of grace that was afforded by the lower movement as, oh boy, you can believe a Minotaur can fly, but not for very long.
Yeah, they bring him down. They have to burn a reroll to do that, though. He doesn't even make a punch as well. So he's just sort of stood there awkwardly, and I feel like they can... Oh, hello, arm break. Oh,
wow!
Actually massive. What is this?
That's West Street War losing a point. Oh my gosh! I mean, they were basically dead with that injury anyway, but that's the other player of the West Street War that's a notable player. So it's down to literally Soyo on the team as the only other notable player. In fact, the only player I think with really any skills worth mentioning.
Well, I'll tell you what, if Java programmers are making playoffs, they're taking their pound of flesh with them. Foster had, like, even with a slash collarbone, he's still a playable blitzer, I think, at strength 2 with those skills. But the Apothecary goes horrifically wrong and he loses one of his star players.
Oh, man.
Oh,
So
he'll get the touchdown off this blitz. But at what cost, Losra? At what cost?
Yeah, I can see why Lostra was having, having some real tough times watching this game back again. That is tough. I mean, what it's cost you to get to this point as well, especially as these two teams who are quite likely to make playoffs whatever happens, to secure your playoffs position more definitively by just by losing out on one of your best players. We're talking about this all the way coming into the these final weeks. Is can you make playoffs, but can you keep your team intact as well?
And that's for West Street War. Unfortunately, the answer seems to be no. They've lost level 3 blitzer. Soyo, now the best player on the team, has to basically hold this on his own. They are 2 points up, and there's only 4 turns left for Karaka to score 2 touchdowns to get a draw. So they are probably winning this game, but they can't feel good about it.
No, it's very unfortunate. As you mentioned, though, it is very, very valuable to try and claw your way up through the playoff rankings. Once you've secured that place in the top 8, trying to avoid our top player at the moment, Masterful. It's been a lot of players minus another bribe. That's 2 bribes each.
All I'm saying is, there are 3 turns left. You have 2 bribes.
That's going to be a lot of fouling.
I mean, you can only make 1 foul per turn, but you can definitely it's only 1-6 to get sent off in the first place, and that's when you need to use your bribe. So, there's no downside to it. Even if you lose this game, there's still a chance you make playoffs. So by fouling, you do actually affect your player front potentially. There's a good chance we do just see 6 fouls in the 7 fouls in the remaining 7 turns.
I mean, I definitely would. There's every opportunity to do so. I mean, ideally, of course, you want to be going after Soyo, the only remaining solid player.
He is not staying in range. You're not getting to him.
No, I don't think there's any chance that Soyo gets within a mile. Though, of course, that in itself is worth something to Karaka here. If Soyo is going to be protected from fouls deliberately, then they're not going to be able to get in and do as much damage as they would be able to otherwise.
Yes. I'm just thinking, was it worth passing the ball there? Trying to just pass it to the Beastman directly above, just to have the ball further forward so you can get 2 touchdowns in? I don't know.
I could definitely see the reasoning for it. I mean, we've definitely seen, like Losra here,
he's playing super safe now. He realizes, oh wait, I can't afford to do this. I can just run the ball up here, make the pass, or stand up. You don't have time to wait around, friend. You need to run the ball this turn.
I think Karaka must have given up on the possibility of even forcing out a draw here. And Losra has given up on the possibility of doing anything but preserving the rest of the team.
After taking that death that has basically wiped out a good chunk of your team value, I don't blame him in the slightest. You see how many substitutes they're playing this one game as well? This is not a healthy team right now. They need to keep their star players upright for the next games going forwards.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's literally down to Soyo. We'll have to find out what happens after this game, but right now, as the score will come in, for the Chaos Squad, yes, Soyo stands alone, the only player with any amount of SCP. The methods from Java programming will at least get the score in, but the chances of picking up a second score to get the draw seem extremely minimal.
There's a chance for a right, but I feel like Quebec had a chance to actually bring this game to a draw thanks to getting that death, sort of forcing West Street Wild to play on the back foot. He could have dragged this to a draw and guaranteed himself playoff. Right now, though, he has sort of accepted his fate. He could still make playoffs with this defeat, but it's getting a bit dicey because tiebreakers can be tricky things.
Yeah, I mean, there's been an extremely high level of competition amongst the players towards the top 8. You know, we've had an extremely even season so far, and a part of that, of course, is because we've been playing in the Swiss style, meaning that players have been playing against teams with roughly similar records to themselves, which does kind of lead to the situation where everyone, you know, a much larger field of players are able to do well.
Absolutely. It has likely itself some extremely close games in this extremely close playoffs race as we do come into this final week and these final few games. It will be West Street Wild receiving. Karaka will have a... I don't think West Street Wild are going to do anything with this turn. I think they're going to put their lone alignment up front. They'll try and maybe get the kickback on the initial play. They won't even send Soyo for the ball. They'll send... I don't know who that is. It's going to be Broncos. Okay. I think they're trying to get an SPP on him for a level. Yes, is the main thing. They'll pass to Soyo because he has the best agility, so he can more likely make the catch. They'll play this line of scrimmage, and I think they might even send the rest of the Orcs back. They won't take the blocks, they just give the turn over, and it will be Java programming laying in for this final turn of the game.
Well, we know for sure that Lustra, is suffering for money, so even if they, with the possibility of hiring in some of these journeymen, probably isn't on the cards. We're in the final turn of the game. It stayed snowing all this time. Karaka, 1 week after managing to break Master Fall's winning streak, which had lasted all season long, they're going to suffer the ignominy of a loss here in their final week, and that's got to really sour that whole experience.
Yep, they've got them both down, and it will actually end up an injury on Trash.
That is a level up, though, on Little Horn, even though they got stunned. They were on 5 out of 6 SPP, so that's pretty big.
No. Wait, that's a journeyman, though. Alright, so congratulations, Trash, you're fired.
Well, there we go.
West Street Wild win the game. I feel like Java programming won the war.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's a decent chance these guys actually end up meeting each other once again in the playoffs if things go in a particular way, because of them being sort of midway through. Let's take a look at how the SPP played out there. So we can see Keller from the West Street Wild got absolutely tons, but not a bad amount for Java programming either.
But I feel like the biggest takeaway for Java programming is, once again, West Street Live meeting an untimely demise. Basically just gutting the core of the York side. Commiserations. I feel like commiserations for a victory feels wrong for Lustra, but it does feel like a defeat somehow.
I mean, at least it does mean that West Street Wild will probably have a decent amount of money to be able to, to replace some of those players. As we saw in that last game, Lustra brought in a journeyman Black Orc with guard, and honestly, I feel like that's probably better than a rookie Black Orc would be anyway. So, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see what Lustra decides. They'll be, making their decisions based on, presumably, which playoff opponent they end up facing because of this win here, meaning that they're pretty much guaranteed to get in. But
no, they are guaranteed to get in with that win. So they are definitely safe in this playoffs. Java programming, they can still make it in depending on tiebreakers, but their odds are worse.
Alright, so if we're talking about odds, we can't leave aside our third game of the night. Of course, we're very excited about this because it changes so much about the playoffs and the way they stand. Kirby, who have we got for our headline performance?
Well, currently sat in 8th on the table, it is the Bretonian side coached by Torviz. It is those Fort Knights. They stand to lose their top 8 position to the team we have somehow managed to avoid for the entire season. Truly the redemption arc of this tournament, going 1 win, 3 losses. It's going to be the Skaven team coached by Dogster, the Cheez-Its, who, with a victory here, can make top 8.
Yeah, we've seen a lot from the Skaven teams in the later parts of the season, so I'm really excited to see how this ends up messing things up for all of our teams involved. So guys, we'll be back in just a few short minutes time for our last game of the regular season. 3 minutes or less, and we'll see you there.
I am here in the middle of nowhere. There is no there, it is cold there, but I am safe and I am warm. Although it's hard, I know I gotta keep up. No time to lay, to drift away. I find my space, I spend my time down the rabbit hole again, and as I fall I can feel the pain. You can't tell me where to go, so I don't know, I just go with the flow. I go with the flow. I'm falling up, I'm falling down, from the sky and from the ground. Up above just like below, and I don't know where I should go. 'Cause I'm stuck in limbo.
Alright guys, we are back for our final game of the night. Fortnite versus the previously unstreamed Cheez-It teams. We've seen a lot from our Skaven teams, crawling their way up through the end of the season. I honestly thought the Skaven teams would kind of drop off as they took more casualties, but instead, they've been making a pretty serious case for players' contention.
Well, you say that this Cheez-It side from Dogster, the University of Stirling, has taken its fair share of beatings. They're going into this game only being able to field, what is that, a 7-man side? Before journeyman linemen come in. But having said that, they have had an amazing run in the last couple of weeks. As I said, going from 1 win, 3 losses to 3-3, going up against the Fortnites, who had a good start to the season, but have sort of tapered off towards the end and now stand to lose their playoff position.
I mean, for the Cheez-Its, they have got the couple of gutter runners with block and, of course, the dodge they have built in. So those are pretty decent. They've also got Bacon Cheddar, who, as you might have gathered by now, there's a cheese theme to the team, has strong arm, which will allow for some... we've seen some pretty silly passing nonsense from the Orcs team so far, and now we've got the chance to see it again from Skaven.
Yes, this is actually a team that wants to play into this high agility, high passing, high movement, high scoring game. On the other side, the Fortnites maybe not as brawly as the Orcs, but they definitely want to have that sort of play style where they want to slow out the game, use their amazing block skills to their advantage, form up their cage, make that slow procession up the pitch, and get the 8-turn touchdown.
Particularly notable is having 3 block and dodge blitzers on the team, as well as 2 guard blockers and the dirty player Ninja, who I remember before did tickle you quite a lot that was the case.
It just seems appropriate, you know? It just seems appropriate.
Alright, well, let's waste no more time, as the most contentious game of the day is about to get underway. Cheez-Its versus Fortnite, Skaven versus Bretonnian. A huge game for both, not just the 2 coaches involved, which of course it is, but for the teams around them, as our playoffs are so close to being set.
Yep. We see here the teams playing at Tilted Tower. Fortnites will be in the yellow. I don't know if that's a colour in Fortnite. I have not played that game. I played it when the Battle Royale was first at launch, and I realised I don't care about the game, and I stopped playing it.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, I learnt the dance from someone, so
My apologies.
That's all I've really got to contribute on the subject. I mean, I would do it, but unfortunately my camera's just become mysteriously broken.
Oh, what a shame.
It is the biggest shame of all, as we do get to check in with our preferred friends. And oh, hello, who's this?
That would
It's
be
a star player.
I am going to very quickly check the default rulebook to see if I can find a 2-headed rat player available as a star player.
So if memory serves, let's see if we can find them here. They are going to be, let's see, they'll be highlighted. There we go. So it's Hackflem Scuttle Spike. Ah, yes. So this star player is notorious for having 2 of everything. 2 heads, well, actually 2 extra arms, and an extra tail as well, on top of movement 9. So they pretty much replace a gutter runner by themselves.
Yes, they don't have... I'm rapidly checking skill sets here. Yeah, they are just going to be filling that role, because again, this is the team that wants to make those high agility, high movement players, where they want to pass to a player, have them run to a pitch, hand off to another player, have them run the entire length, and then score that touchdown. This is like going to play so nicely into that default playbook of the Skaven team, and it really comes down to these tackle blockers on the Bretonnian side to sort of slow this down, and allow your blitzers to use the fact that they have dodge to take these good blocks. It feels weird that the blockers don't have block, you know, but I digress.
Yes, I believe at one point they were called Yeoman, but back when the Bretonnian team was just a twinkle in the eye of the community. But yes, right now, they are going to have to try and use that wrestle, or at least try and not use that wrestle if they can avoid it, because that will knock them off of their feet and be unable to guard. But still, they'll be pretty important, as the Fortnites will get a quick snap, letting them move up closer to the ball and also further into Skaven territory.
Yeah, do you want to take the fight to the Skaven early in these turns while you have the advantage on the line of scrimmage? Because the Skaven are not necessarily known for being the strongest team. They have armor 7 mostly across the board, right? If you get punched in the face, you are likely to remain on the pitch for a significant quantity of time. And once you have the man disadvantage, it's very easy for the Bretonnians to shore up, drag the game out long. And that is really not where you want to be, as we see that plan immediately coming to fruition from the Bretonnians. Sharpshooter going to take a bit of a dirt nap.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate. Of course, we have got Bruslash, the Rat Ogre, kind of holding up the center here. That AV8 is one of the tougher members of the Skaven team, but it will still get armor broken. The Bretonnians, they are laying down a hail of fire into the Skaven lines to start us off.
This is exactly what they need to do to get control of this game, because again, once you lose access to these players, you don't have as many passing options, and it's very easy for the Bretonnians to just stop you playing through these sides, just sort of outmaneuver you, and from there, it's very easy to just stop you from scoring.
So we do have Spicy Hot getting blitzed, though not injured there. has got block and guard as the failed pickup deep in the lines. Maybe this offers an opportunity for an enterprising Skaven to sneak past and steal the ball.
I don't know if that's actually... Okay, no, that one, gutter run it is. Not going to immediately go for it, though. They're instead opting to just move players around, trying to get them in position to stop the Bretonnian advance. And potentially bring someone around the back, because I feel like that's the best way of dealing with the Bretonnians, is get in and around them before the cage forms.
Alright, nothing too major from the Skaven team. They didn't decide to take advantage. So we still got to keep our eyes out for Hackflem, Scuttle, Spike, the star player brought in for this game. Such huge potential for them, but I do worry with the loner on them as well. As part of them being a star player, there are some risks inherent with the use of such a big name.
Yes, but the good news is they do have amazing stats and amazing abilities to back them up. They are star players for a reason. Maybe you can't pump your rerolls into them, but you shouldn't need to pump them as much because they will have good rolls across the board, particularly anyways. We see a foul coming in here, trying to keep these Skaven down and out. Spicy hot. That stop took way too long. He was just stood there for ages waiting to lower his boot. It will end up in a stun, so he's going to be down for a while, but no permanent damage done yet.
Oh, that's what it was, Kirby. It's all about the wind-up. As the wrestle will put down one of the gutter runners here. Ooh, a one-dice block doesn't go so well for Marshmallow, the squishiest of the Bretonnian peasants. So knocked down, but the Skaven team, they're still getting pretty hammered here. It's looking like things are going more or less according to plan for the Bretonnians so far.
Yep, they have the ball not quite in a cage, but it's going to be very hard for Skaven to contest them at this moment in time. They have a good few number of their players forwards with, again, those blitzers with the blodge. I mean, they can just take these blocks indefinitely. That's terrifying. And does that look at armor break? Blue Llama ends injured. Only badly hurt, so at least available for future games should they win this, because again, this is a game that both these teams need to win to advance, or at least Fortnite's need at least a draw, but even a draw does not guarantee a top 8 presence for them.
Yeah, every single decision here, extremely important. But at least for the time being, as the Dauntless comes in, there are ways of knocking that Rat Ogre, seeming, a lot more focus from Dogster on keeping that Rat Ogre in circulation. I mean, one player down is a pretty good record so far.
Yeah, now they're able to bring a few more of their blitzers forwards, get hits on some of the squishier Skaven, and look for at least an armor break, because stuns will go a long way in this sort of matchup. Unfortunately, Wrestle does not give armor breaks. It does get both players down safely, which can give you some positional advantage, but you really want to be forcing the Skaven to rely on their poor armor. Like this.
Quintro Gnaw getting knocked down there. Yeah, notice, of course, we've got Floss the blocker with guard, still right in the heart of the Skaven formation, while we've got Default the blocker over on the other side with the same. So the line for the Bretonnians still seems pretty strong. That Rat Ogre...
You saw the Rat Ogre blitz before. He's not in an amazing position for some of these blitzers. And if those blitzers go down, you do open up to quite a lot of Skaven diving onto the ball carrier. They don't have strength individually, but strength in numbers is very much a thing for them.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's there's nothing more Skaven than trying to swarm someone, but you mentioned before, that frenzy for the Minotaur, also for the Rat Ogre. If they come up and blitz here, they're going to end up going further away from the ball.
That's fine. You don't care about the Rat Ogre being near the ball, you care about the enemy players being away from it. And with that double push, that works out fine, because you've opened up a massive space for this... Well, I was going to say for this individual rat to just run up the pitch, but it could also just give assist to the thrower here to get another knockdown. And suddenly the ball carrier is exposed. I don't think you have any spare rats to get on top of him, but it certainly puts a lot of pressure on him. And it also means these Bretonnians can't also punch back.
And we see the emergency default blocker with guard making it over there to meet up with Floss. So that's 2 guards around this front line. The Bretonnians should be able to win out this punching war as long as... It feels like the big X factor is Brushlash the Rat Ogre. Just so powerful as... There we go, 4 Cheese getting injured there. Surely we'll be seeing a lot more of that.
Yes. Again, 7 armor is extremely low, and even the Stormer Vermin only have 8, which isn't particularly amazing. It does set you up to get knocked down and stunned like this. the Skaven need to take their fights very carefully. As
Ooh.
well. Prehensile Tail coming in clutch there for the Rat Ogre.
Yeah, that -1 to all dodges meant that even with the dodge skill for Drake there, they still weren't able to get away. Let's see,